I followed the story last year through Marnie Vinyl's reporting. It wasn't just one single moment. It was like a build-up all across last year. Eventually I thought, well, I've got a daughter and I want her to play footy, and I wanted to make sure that footy was in the best possible condition for her when she started.
How do you come up with new content ideas?
Some days I wake up and I just think I'm a content creator. I have to wake up and do that all for the whole day. It's really hard to put yourself out there, calling out stuff, but you got to just keep going and learning and force yourself.
What have you found throughout your own footy career in terms of these little drive-by comments, and what can more men do to stand up and to knock that on the head?
Yeah, I think it comes back to Kate Mack story and just the herd mentality. Some of her mates could have come out and said something, they didn't. But
welcome to 4TG. Welcome back to the 4TG podcast, a podcast on a mission to keep more girls and women in sport. Now, you may know today's guest or have seen him on social media, either reviewing a pizza, eating his lunch in some weird and wonderful places in Melbourne, or calling out sexism head-on in Australian sport. Damien Hopper, best known as Damo, runs Prune Masters, one of the biggest and most engaged independent audiences in Australian football, with more than 150,000 followers across all his social media platforms. What started as a food reviewing platform has turned Damo into one of the most influential voices in women's football at the moment, using his platform to champion women in footy, to amplify stories that deserve more attention, and call out the issues holding the game back, including gambling culture. Damo was a spearhead in amplifying the Kyneton Wedgetail Eagles story earlier in the year, putting public pressure on the governing bodies after the women's team was not allowed to play. In this episode, we talk about the growth of women's footy, what genuine male allyship in women's sport looks like, the power of social media to drive change, and why creating a more equitable future for girls and women in sport benefits everyone. If you care about the future of women's sport, this conversation is for you. And Damo and I have an exciting announcement for you all at the end of the episode, so be sure to tune in and all will be revealed. But before we jump in, make sure you have subscribed to 4TG on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. Every follow, review, and share helps us reach more women and girls and keep them involved in sport. And if you'd like to support our mission, you can shout us a virtual coffee via the Buy My Coffee in the show notes below. So let's get into it. Damo, welcome to the 4TG podcast.
Thanks for having me.
It's a real pleasure to have you here. I've been following your content for a long time, and as we mentioned on the intro, you're doing big things.
Yeah, I'm trying to at the moment. It's a few things have lined up and worked pretty well for me. Yeah, really happy with where I am. I'm starting to get connected to new and interesting people like you through some of the new things I've been having a crack at this year. So it's starting to come together for me.
Yeah, well, interesting is one word I've been called before, so that is absolutely true. Now, Damo, before we get into you and what you're doing in terms of your social media following and content, we do some Snap Fitness rapid fire questions here. So whatever skeletons you've got, they could well come up here.
All right. Some things just pop out though, as long as we're cool.
Absolutely. So whatever comes to mind, shoot.
All right.
You ready to roll?
Yeah.
Weirdest spot you've eaten lunch?
Oh, it would have to be just recently at a roundabout in the main street of Traralgon.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I assume you were on the roundabout in the middle of it?
On the roundabout, tables and chairs, like Friday, real hustle and bustle. There was no car parks, and people were tooting, grabbing pizza. You just, when you do weird stuff like that, weird people come up and meet you and chat to you, and it just creates a fun, energetic environment. And that was only a couple of weeks ago, but I can go weirder.
All right. Watch this space, eh?
Watch it, because, I want to get real weird.
Yeah. All right. You and I will have to go for lunch somewhere then, eh?
I'm in.
Let's do it.
Prepare yourself.
Yeah. What is the moment in women's football that you realised that you couldn't stay quiet anymore?
The wedgies. Like, I followed the story last year through Marnie Vinyl's reporting, and I stayed on top of it. But then eventually, eventually we could just go as long as we want for this one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sorry. But then eventually, I thought, you know what, I want to jump in and see if I can have some impact and help them. And that was it wasn't just one single moment. It was like a build-up all across last year. There was another report after another report that Marnie was putting out, and it's kind of just tipped over for me. And eventually I thought, well, you know what, I got a daughter and I want her to play footy. She's rough as guts already and just
Good.
beats up her 4-year-old brother. And I just know she's going to play footy one day. I can just tell. And I wanted to, make sure that footy was in the best possible condition for her when she started Auskick in a few years' time. And seeing what happened to the wedge years and, once you start paying attention to that sort of stuff, then everything else just seems to come your way. And that was kind of the moment there for sure.
Yeah, we'll definitely dig deeper into that later.
Yeah.
But I think, that's a really important thing to say too, is that you've got a daughter and it's easy for men to say, oh, it doesn't affect me, but there's no world in which it will not affect you eventually because you're going to have daughters, you have sisters, mothers, whoever it might be who want to play sport. And when it's affecting them directly, it will indirectly affect you in some way, shape or form.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of guys get into that sort of stuff because of their daughters. Like Brendan Favola is a really good example. He's coaching with Richmond at the moment, and he's got, I think, 4 daughters. You don't have to have a daughter to do that. It could be your next door neighbour who you're close with that wants to play footy. And I think everyone's got their own sort of motivation.
Mm-hmm. And finally, and this is a big one, we always land quite large on the last one here. What is your biggest regret?
Oh, I try not to really have them. I don't really have I don't have a whole lot of regrets anymore because I believe in accountability, and it's something I've learned a lot in the last year is accountability, especially because my content, I like to call stuff out and call accountability on other people, but to do that you have to take it on yourself and be prepared that you need to show. If you're going to call it out, you need to be accountable yourself. And so there's plenty of things in my past where I've had regrets. I come from a very blokey world. I've done things like back in the day, 15 years ago, we did blackface. We used to say all sorts of homophobic words and things like that. And I don't regret doing them because I know the place that I've come from, and it makes me happy and proud that I'm not like that anymore and that I've learned from it and taken accountability. But I'm not a perfect person. I still am from that world. Sometimes I do slip back into that world, but I think people asking you to be perfect, they're just asking you to try and do better.
That's right, 100%. We've all made mistakes, and I don't think there's anyone here that can, say that I'm perfect and I haven't made mistakes. But it's, again, and that accountability piece is huge. Yeah. And just trying to be better every day.
Yeah, just trying. It's not. Yeah, exactly. I think people that sort of cancel culture vibe that people get really scared of is not real. It's if you do something bad in your past, it's not who you are. You can change and do better, and that's what people value on. And if people want to judge you for what you did back then, that's essentially I think you can always do better. And in terms of regrets, I don't know. I crashed a wedding once. That's not a regret. That was heaps of fun. Yeah. But that's probably for another podcast.
Yeah, we'll save that for episode 2, eh?
Yeah.
So I'm interested to know, before we go into Prune Masters and the origin of that, let's just look at sport for you in your childhood. What did sport mean for you growing up?
I grew up in the Adelaide Hills in a place called Aldgate. It was very much footy, junior football. I played a lot of tennis as well. I only played a little bit of junior footy. We moved around a lot as a family. I think I lived in 5 states by the time I was in year 2. So a lot of moving around. But I ended up sort of settling on mostly tennis, footy, a little bit of golf. But I only played junior footy till I think I was about 9. And then, it was always spent a lot of my time outdoors riding bikes and just causing trouble around the neighbourhood. It wasn't a full-on sporting upbringing, I don't think. And in Adelaide as well, footy's not the religion in Adelaide as well, so that it's not sort of pushed on you and, expected of you as much as it is over here. And it was a real big shock coming to Melbourne for grade 6, the first time I came over to Melbourne. And your whole identity is what football team you go for. And it was I remember it being a really big transition. I changed from Adelaide to North Melbourne to fit in. And then everyone was calling me a traitor, so I traded back, and then I got called a traitor again. So it was a really hard adjustment. Adelaide is very different, a different sporting culture to over here, for sure.
I bet you're glad you traded back now.
Yeah, I'm very glad.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I was Adelaide for 97 for the grand final that we won. And then I think, what did we do, 98? And then I switched back to North Melbourne for 99. So I actually got 3 premierships in a row.
Wow.
So,
Well, you've done well.
yeah, I did well.
Yeah. You'd be happily called a trader if you get 3 premierships.
Yeah,
eh?
exactly.
So let's get into now how your content and first of all, how did Prune Masters come about? I'd love to know the origin behind that. And then obviously your content's changed a bit over the past couple of years. So how you sort of got more into the women's footy and gambling side of things.
Yeah, Prune Masters started just because I played a Masters football club. I got on really well with the coach of the over 55 Towners. I think he was about 60, but in his team, like there was 73-year-olds playing, and they were just an amazing part of the club culture. They really were the champions of the club culture. I fit in really well with them, got on really well with them. And then after the first season, over summer, so I run a pizza chain. My family, we have a pizza chain, and I run the marketing for that. And I was just sort of exploring different avenues of, food reviewers and whatnot. And I saw how much they were charging. I'm like, that is ridiculous. I'm not paying some girl $5,000 to eat a pizza in her car and tell people it's good. I'll do that myself. Yeah. So I thought, all right, well, let's think about it. Let's think about some content. And it was around the same time that Marmalade and Dan Gorringe were kicking off. And I thought, I could do my own version of that, like maybe the dad version. I'm a bit older than them, and I've got this. And then it just went ping. Towners, my mate at Footy, like he's just the ultimate larrikin. So I called him up the first day of pre-season and I said, mate, you want to do TikTok with me? And he said, I said, do you know what TikTok is? And he said, yeah, it's the biscuits that my grandkids eat. And I said, just get to training 10 minutes early because he was up for it anyway. Yeah. I pinned a road mic, I bought a road mic, pinned it on him, and he was just up and about for the first session of training. He was talking about like all these catchphrases like cherry ripe and all these things that he would say. I picked up on them and edited little highlights packages. And within 2 weeks, he was getting selfies in any Bunnings, any pub. He'd getting beers and selfies. and that was, he's probably still getting them now.
Yeah, Mr. Hollywood.
And it just went big. And it was a really wild year. We got kind of, I guess, famous really quick. And we caught up to like the Marmalades of the world within 6 months. And by the end of the year, we were eating. We did a pizza thing with Dan Gorringe, and it was just wild.
What do you think it was about your content that resonated with everyone?
It was definitely the heart and soul type of stuff, the rev ups, the old boys playing footy. Towners is the ultimate larrikin, ultimate like club person. He's a great. He brings people together and he lifts people up, and he was just a great. And you could see that through the content. He's also just a real funny bastard. Yeah. Just the stuff that he comes up with is amazing. But I think the really heart and soul of it. And by the end of the season, so we spent most of the season dicking around making beer and food jokes and footy jokes. But by the end of the season, it sort of really narrowed into this sort of heart and soul of the team. And there was one episode where his brother died a few days before, and I made this piece of content about the game. And they had lost all throughout the season. They got flogged every game, but they all rose together and got a win for him, for his brother. And that was just like, for me, that was when the content completely changed. And I knew that we weren't just looking at like larrikins, we were looking at like the window to like the heart and soul of footy, or one version of it.
Yeah. And obviously footy and sport in general is a great connector and a great way to bring community together. But there's also some bad sides of sport, which, you yourself has experienced. Do you want to go into that?
Yeah, I'll touch on it lightly. I don't want to throw people under the bus, but things didn't go well with the club, and it was a values-based piece, and not the club. I really love the club. Still got some great mates there, but I guess I ran into my own issue with a club committee, and there were times I wasn't my best self. There was plenty of times they weren't their best self, but it was just a thing where it blew up really quickly. No one really happened really fast, but essentially what happened at the end of the day was a question of values and integrity, and I ended up walking away from the club, but I've held on to my values. So that was a really big sort of lesson for me out of that. Very difficult though. You walk away from a club, you walk away from 100 best mates. Yeah. that's what's so great about footy clubs is it is a broken heart club sometimes as well. People like a divorcee will go to a footy club instantly. Here's your community over, like everyone's going to get around you. That's what a really great thing about clubs are. But also when you walk away, you lose it all.
Yeah.
You know, especially if there's sort of bad blood there. But yeah, that's sort of, I guess, where I get a lot of my motivation to support those others, because I couldn't win a personal battle myself, and that's sort of what led me into the wedgies and things like that.
So before we get into the wedgies, I mean, there's lots of people who listen to this podcast now, and they might be in a similar situation where the environment around them isn't great, and the values that people display around them might actually compromise their own values. What piece of advice would you have to them, knowing that yes, it can be extremely scary walking away from your group, your community, but you know, what would you say to them in terms of picking the high road and perhaps leaving that community might be the best thing in the long run?
Look, herd mentality, I thought a lot, and I've read a lot of like herd mentality, and I think that's essentially what it is. People will stick to their herd. It's where they feel safe. People don't like seeing others step away from the herd. In my case, it was out there, putting myself out there, you know, giving analysis on football, and you know, the content is kind of like a me type of thing, and people, when they saw me do that, like you become an easy target. But I think people got to really understand their values and what, you know, it's not something you do as a 20-year-old either. Like it took me till I was, what must have been 39 years old to truly understand values. But what I would say to someone that has seen things and is wondering whether to call stuff out, honestly, it's the trickiest part, and I'm not perfect at it. I'm often shoot now and ask questions later, and I think that's where I can get in trouble sometimes. I think you've got to be very gentle about it, and honestly it's quite tough, hard to give advice on. But what I can say is that it is worth it in the long run, and friends will come and go through life. Your friends you got now are probably not going to be your friends in 10 years, not all of them. It's just sort of how a lot of it goes, and you've got to pick the right friends that will have your back in times when values are questioned, and that's something that I've learned.
Yeah. And you'll probably notice too, when you do that, you might lose a lot of friends. But I mean, if they've got different values than you, the friendship's not really worthwhile pursuing.
No.
You know what I mean? Like it's.
No, 100%, you know, and you can have a friend for 10 years and values might not even come up and be a thing.
Yep.
But when eventually they will, you know, and, you know, you've got different stages of life. You have kids and the values become stronger and stronger because you want, you know, a better life for your kids or a better future. So yeah, it's a really important thing. But like I've got friends with people like Misfit Minds and other younger creators and things like that who are a bit sort of, you know, they have different other views of the world and might say certain things and that, but definitely. Like I know there's some great parts about them as well, and they do a really good thing. And their example, they really make people laugh, and I think that's really important to make people laugh and entertain people. But you know, eventually they'll learn and change as they grow old as well. So I'm pretty old for a content creator, so. Yeah, I think that's maybe the difference there.
Yeah. How do you go about content creating? Like, obviously, it must constantly be on your mind about what you're sort of producing, what new stuff you can come up with. And you're also putting your head on the chopping board a lot of the time and putting yourself out there publicly.
Yeah.
How do you come up with new content ideas? And then also, if you're getting a lot of sort of flack online, how do you try and overcome that?
Flack is all right. I'm getting used to that. Like, once you get 100 people give shit to you, in like the space of 2 or 3 days, it just bounces off me now. So, but earlier on, it was really tough. So Towners was the main face of the page for the first 6 months. I never had the confidence to put myself out there. But then I realised that there was, you know, opportunities for more content if I did it. So I started to do it, and eventually, you know, Towners and I parted ways. But some days I wake up and it's like, you wake up and your brain doesn't really turn on. Your body turns on before your brain. And sometimes I just think I've put myself out. I'm a content creator. I have to wake up and do that for the whole day. And I don't really, you're not in the mood for it some days. Like, oh shit, like yesterday I called Andrew Dillon a bleep. Now I've got to wake up and continue that, and I'm not in the mood. So it's really hard to put yourself out there. Calling out stuff, I think in this AFL space, it's actually, sadly, like integrity and that sort of thing is a bit of a niche in the AFL media world, and it's sad that it's a niche, but like, honestly, I do see it as its own niche, but it also aligns with my values and things like that as well. So, but yeah, no, it's tough putting yourself out there, but it's the future, and you know, people are getting elected in the biggest countries in the world because of social media. There's so much power in it, and you know, you may as well have a go. I really like working. There's a lot of female footy voices, and I've been connecting with them a lot, and I connected with you really well. But there's a lot of them emerging. I just really want to encourage them to have a go, because it is hard putting your face out and thinking that. I was just speaking to one girl this week, Fringe Pod, and I want to put a post out supporting Kate McCarthy, but I don't want people saying to me what they've been saying to Kate McCarthy. And I can't relate to that. I'm not, I'm not in anywhere near that position. But I just said, just encourage her to do it because it's important that she does it, you know.
Yeah, and she did a great job. It was a really powerful clip, and it's doing well.
It's the first ever one she did.
Yeah.
And last I checked, it was heading towards maybe, 10,000 views. And that's great. I see influence as like constant 50 to 100,000 views. That is what I see. That is what we did to change things at the Wedgies. That's not a lot. And, you know, so, and it's, you just got to just keep going and learning and force yourself to learn. I was up till midnight every night the first year I started doing content. I haven't watched TV in years. Like, I just edit all through the night. I really like it. I see it as like putting a puzzle together. Yeah. Like that's how my brain works, and I really like it. And I think I entertain myself. I make what I want to see. So yeah, but you've got to really enjoy that side of it as well, I guess.
100%. And like, while we've touched on it, I would love to get more into the Kate Mack story, because obviously Kate Mack's been on the podcast. I absolutely love her. I think she's an incredible voice, and she has so much knowledge, a lot more knowledge than I would argue a lot of the male counterparts do. And she doesn't always bite back, but she even said on our podcast that it just gets old sometimes, and you know, she's always sick of being the bigger person and just pretending like it doesn't get to you, which I'm sure it does. So tell us a little bit about what you did with that reel and what you were the message you're trying to get across there. Yeah,
I've got this whole different perception of what it is to be manly and masculine these days. Like, people like to puff their chest out and put down others to make themselves feel more manly, and I think that's just what people were doing to her, saying that she doesn't know anything about football, which, as far as I know, she knows more or as much football as anyone out there, and she's got all these accolades and awards to prove that. I guess my point is that the point I was trying to make there, that I couldn't, sometimes things just go in my head and I have to wake up, and like, I make this video overnight, I wake up in the morning, I have to make it. And that was the Kate Mack one, because I felt so sorry for her. And none of her mates, they're with the biggest voices in the world, the big Channel 7 agenda setters, none of them ever come out and stand up about that sort of stuff. And like, they're the most important voices out there. Everyone listens to them. These buffheads in the comments section listen to them. They're the ones that need to just share a post, put up a story. It takes 2 minutes. She's your teammate. Yeah. You know, like, they're all brought up on this team culture and getting around each other and helping your teammates up. Well, she's your teammate. You need to get out. And she's taking this to a public front. It's important that you show up and be there for her. And I think Dale Thomas did. But that's what I thought. Look, you know, I don't know Kate Mack. I hardly even listen to any of the shows that she's on, unless it's like an Adelaide game. But I felt like if I did it, then others might be encouraged to do it. And another really good one is Swoop Luke, a Collingwood creator. Yeah. He's really good in that space as well. So I'm not alone. But yeah, I just feel like I've just got something in me that just wants to look after people that are getting bullied. Yeah.
So when did you start feeling like, I don't want to just do this for fun and for entertainment, but really start hitting on these harder issues like the Wedgies?
Obviously, I had my own sort of battle with a football club that I couldn't win. And at the time it was happening, my business was really struggling. And I had to jump in and do content for my business and learn everything I had learned about content. I had to just do it at business. Otherwise, you know, things were going to get a lot worse. But then eventually I sort of fixed all that up, and I've got a great team around me in my business now. I burnt out by the end of that year trying to just manage content and business. and then I took a few weeks break, and that's when I got onto the wedgies. That's when I just felt like it was the right time to come and do something to help support. And that's when, and me and Nat, the president of the wedgies, we'd always, she was supporting my business efforts and my other content. I was supporting her. You kind of just become, like you and I, we just became little supporters where you post up and you just like it and you become little content buddies like that. That's sort of how I became friends with them. And then, eventually I told her, look, it's the right time. I've had a holiday. I was seeing a therapist as well for a few months to deal with like a lot of the challenges I had through those 12 months. And actually, it's probably topical. Like, and obviously, I'm a big advocate for going to therapy. It was the first time I ever went to therapy in November last year. They really break you down and they go through your history and find out who you are and what makes you tick and what makes you you. And like, I got bullied a fair bit in high school, or not accepted. I wouldn't say it was bullied. It was just not sort of accepted. And a lot of my wanting to help other people, wanting to stand up, it came from me trying to fix the problem of my childhood. Right. So, which is super cool. You think therapists, you just go there and you cry in a pillow and you pay someone money, but they really do break you down and you learn a lot about yourself. And so I'd had a few months of therapy before that, and I sort of realised that this is me, and I want to help the wedgies. And it was also a bit of therapy for me as well, helping them defeat helping them win and become a football club. That was the victory I needed for me to have a bit of closure with what I walked away from. But then after that, like, it's still in me. I want to keep going. It was so I joined the Kringle Bulls, and there's something just that it's inherent inside me that wants to do that and stick up for people, which I don't know, it's way better than a dopamine hit of getting 1 million views. My views are down a fair bit, but they're the views and the audience. I'm building the audience that I wanna have, not just the most viral thing that might get me a brand deal.
Yeah, exactly. You're creating for impact now, and that's far reaching, and it's going to have far bigger consequences for good, I hope.
Hope so. So far, so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us about what you did with the wedgies that really put the pressure on publicly and on those governing bodies that were preventing them from playing.
Oh, it was a wild month. I called Nat. I said, I'm ready to help you. How far are you prepared to go? And she said, as far as we can. And at that stage, I think an article came out from Marnie and the ABC, and that I must have read it. And I said, look, I'm ready to help you now. And I'd worked a lot with branding people for my own business, and they're all branding and creative agencies. They're all about challenging the norm and just doing things differently. And we'd had done a lot of PR and a lot of stunt type of stuff with Bubba in the past. And I thought, well, let's take it off the articles and let's take it into the real world. Let's show people what the people that are missing out on playing footy, the people that want to play footy. And I said, can you meet me down at AFL House next Tuesday? We'll do a training session. I'll make one of my sort of regular football compilations with a bit of music and a bit of energy, and we'll just throw ourselves out there and see what happens. And we did, and it was just a highly energetic video that went viral, that got shared around to people like Hannah Ferguson and all these different independent media. The content creators overseas saw it. Georgie Purcell, who was already advocating for them, she saw it. She was a massive part of it as well. And through that, it just created a bit of it did exactly what it needed to do, is to take them from just people in a picture looking sad in a ABC article to the real world. And then we followed up with a bunch of other stuff, and it just steamrolled from there. And then eventually there was a really big key moment where it was their first training session. So we had another training session, even though we didn't know there was going to be a team. And it just so happened that a current affair had been alerted, and actually I got a good shout out to my wife, who is a PR specialist, and she helped connect a few of those dots. And once a current affair was coming out with the story, that's when it all changed. And by the time we had finished our training session with current affair filming, so we got to when we got back to the Kyneton Hotel, we had a call from the powers that be, the big names. And that's when it changed. It
really goes to show, doesn't it, the power of social media in terms of creating this visibility for everyone. Everyone can see, because everyone is on social media.
Yeah.
And I mean, social media these days is just as, if not more important than your traditional media companies. So how did that work in terms of when you got to AFL House?
Yeah.
Was there much pushback?
The public?
No, from those working within AFL House. Was there security alerted? Were you told to turn
the
around
actual
and go?
stunt itself? No, but if you look at AFL House, it is just like a fortress. It's stickers covering every single window. You can't see inside. The door is not a very welcoming looking place. Like, it doesn't feel like a house to me.
Yeah.
It feels like a fortress. So you can't even open the door. So there was people coming in and out, and Jane, who was sometimes people I can just see, yep, you're the one I need as the face of this. And I was like, okay, Jane, go up to the front door, knock, and chat to the people as they come in and out of their lunch break. And so there was these people, and they were just putting their heads down, walking straight past, and I could tell that people had been told not to engage. And that was, no one said anything. The security didn't come and tell us to go, because that would have been extremely bad optics, which is probably a word they would use. And it was, I don't know. It was kind of like we just did our thing and left, but it was more until it got put on socials where things changed, and we realized that it would work. But I think doing things like that, it just takes the battle to them, and takes it to the streets, literally. You know what I mean? I think that's what you have to do if you want to make a change.
Definitely. And after you did that, have there been any other clubs reaching out to you for support?
Yeah, a couple of girls' teams did. Yeah, and it's a tricky one, because I want to go and jump in and help all of them, knowing, like, people that I know now through the wedgies, like, it might not be the case that they just need a bit of help finding recruits. It might be the case that there's a toxic committee running that club, and it's probably not the club that you want to go and just help out, help with a certain problem. So a couple of clubs did reach out to help with recruitment, and I asked them the same question: how far are you willing to go? And if they're not willing to go far, then I don't work with them. Yeah. But there's also that fact that I could be stirring a really big pot there and barking up the wrong tree, and it might not be worth it. Yeah. You could, because there's a lot of old clubs out there that are operating like it's the 80s, which we know about, we see in the news, and we read the stories. So it's a tricky one. But I think my main thing is working with the Coringa Bulls women's team this year. That's the help. I want to do it on a longer. I want to help shine a light on their footy on a more longer term basis, and just highlight the different type of football out there, and show people that women's footy is awesome. And and it is, sadly, it is a niche. It is a content niche as well. Just like, having some values in content. It's like, showing a light on women's footy is kind of a bit of a niche, just like the 70-year-olds playing footy. It's something that is not seen as much in comparison to other types of footy. Yeah.
Well, there's really not a lot of men in the space, content creators, that are sort of promoting women's footy. So what made it tick for you that women's footy, and as we'll touch on soon, the gambling, what are the two main things about those two issues or topics that make you tick?
Oh, it's so easy. I've got a 2-year-old daughter, and then I've got a 4-year-old son. And I had I'll jump onto the gambling after, but I'm still learning. It's still coming out of me. It's only January that wedgies happened, and then I rolled straight onto wedgies into preseason with the Bulls girls. But I'm still, like, the videos that I make for the Bulls, it comes from me and my perspective, and like, I'm learning about women's footy as I go, and my content highlights what I love about it. And like, one thing I really like about women's footy, and just the way that it's done, like, if a girl has a bad game, she'll come off the ground crying, and everyone will know that she's upset about having a bad game. If a guy did that, it'd just be a bit different. It'd be too different. But the thing is that I'm learning is that when the girls show their emotion like that, then the other girls know that we need to go and take care of you. Guys don't do that. They just suck it up and have a beer or whatever. But if they were to actually come out and express that, I'm really upset, then 2 or 3 guys would love to come over and just chat with you and, give you a bit of extra attention. So that's one thing I really like I've learnt about the girls, and the way they celebrate each other. When it's their 100th game, they get these T-shirts, they get these massive banners, their family come in. They got, just even last week for Breeze's 50th, workmates were there with little posters and things like that. They just really, like, get around each other is just such a footy term. Yeah. But I think it's just like, I don't know, like an ism or whatever they're called. It's not, don't actually do it a lot, but the girls do, and I love it. Yeah. But I'm still learning. I think we're only 2/3 of the way, maybe a bit less through the season. Yeah. But they dig deep as well. They've had some really big victories this year. had some off-field stuff that they've had to rally together for and stuff like that. And yeah, their football is just as awesome as anyone else. Just there's so much heart and soul in women's footy. And it's just like the old fellas that I followed in 2024. It doesn't matter about who's playing, even the quality of the game. It's just about how much they love. It's a shared passion and love for the game. And I think that, the results and things like that has become secondary or even less. And then gambling, I got a kid. He came out of bed, he had a bad night's sleep one night. I said, all right, we'll come watch footy with Daddy. And two things I want him to watch with me is Star Wars and footy. He keeps saying no to Star Wars, which really shits me. But I get an opportunity to watch footy because if he comes out of bed and I'm watching the Crows, he will, Anyway, I sat him on my lap, and during the ad break, there was this sport betting app. I don't know, there was some goat in a pub, like a human goat. And instead of him asking me questions about footy, and 4-year-olds, they just ask questions. They just get going. And for the half an hour, he was asking me about this goat in the pub rather than footy. And that's when I was like, I read all the articles again and see all these, I know all these, these gambling ads, and a lot of people are upset about it. But when it's similar to having a daughter and wanting to do something for women's footy, that's when it sort of hit home. And that was like that moment there where I thought, it doesn't matter who you're going to vote for in an election. I think most of us know where to go have a bet and can have a bet if they want, but we don't need all those ads. And I think, that's just that's my next sort of battle, I guess. That's I can see just burning up inside me. And there's enough people, I can see by the people when I post a gambling video or reel or whatever, I can see the people who like it, and it's from all of like my history of 2 years, my followers that have been here from the Towners era to the pizza era, the food reviews to the Bulls, the Kooringal Bulls and women's footy. I could see that they all come and they like those things. I think it's something that everyone's really on par with. Yep. It's just so far out of our control.
Yes. Yeah. So what sort of impact are you hoping to have around the gambling side of things?
It's a really tough one. Like the government had 31 recommendations through like years of research and lived experience and psychologists and all that, and they've just sort of ignored it and brought some watered down reforms. And I don't fully understand how all that works. Footy's my little corner of the internet, and I know that people at the top there are really taking the piss with it all. And I mean, I said it, like being out, I was at the front of AFL House today and I saw all the stickers over their front window. There's little kids playing footy. There's kids with disabilities enjoying footy, women celebrating footy, few of the stars up there, and it's just covering completely the windows so you can't see inside the AFL House. I think that is just the most symbolic thing about where gambling and sport is at the moment, or just integrity in general. Is that they want to block out, they want it to look all nice on the outside, like it's all great, but they don't want anyone peeking in on the inside because what's happening on the inside is probably pretty corrupt.
Yeah, but no, it's an interesting space, the gambling side of things. And, for especially women's sports where funding isn't there and we're looking to attract more sponsors and things like that. Yeah. It's, crossing wires constantly. So what do you think in terms of the women's sport side of things? How do we set ourselves apart from the men's sport, which is more traditionally sponsored by lots of gambling agencies and sports
and
bet?
relied upon. They're heavily relied upon it. Oh, look, I remember back in the day when you'd go to the MCG in like the late 90s, early 2000s, and you look around each level and there'd be on one level at the front, there'd be a sign for, I don't know, Toyota or whatever. And around there'd be 50 different businesses around the grounds and on the boundary line. Now it's just one sports bet that goes, or TAB sign that goes all the way around. It's digital. Like that's where the money has just been all funneled into the one spot because it's easier. Like imagine how many sales reps it would take back in the day to manage each relationship of those 100 signs. Now they got 2 or 3 and it's just easier. It's like corporate synergy or some sort of stuff. But so that's one way that you could start doing it, is just to departmentalize all of this condensed money streams. Because, hey, I've got a business. I'd love to have my sign up at the ground, I'd love to have my my logo on a women's team jumper as well. But it's those really high ticket areas really valuable, and they're going to just one or two, a small few really, really big businesses like Coles. Like, come on, they're making billions of dollars like every year. Why are they on every ad? Like, they've got to just spread it a bit. And I think some gambling reforms will at least force them to spread it out and find more sponsors, find some ally businesses that want to work with women's team, some female CEO girl bosses out there who are like, well, actually, okay, there are a few signs around the G now. I can sponsor this bay or that bay, or it's much more affordable now to get on here, because gambling companies and whoever like Coles, the more money they have, the more valuable it is, this little space on your jumper, the more value that is. And so the smaller businesses can't afford that. So, I mean, that's just one thought.
Yeah. God, we've solved a few problems here.
Have we? I don't know. That sounded pretty. Good. I never thought about that.
You're pretty happy with that one, you reckon?
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Clip it.
Clip that one. Absolutely. Now, on the topic of male allyship, so we've touched on the importance that males play within the female sporting realm, and what the importance they can play or probably should play is more to the point. And we've spoken a lot on the podcast about saying little things like you're playing like a girl and things like that, but how much of an impact those types of sayings and language has on women. Because we look around, in general, respect towards women, these things really have a greater impact in terms of how society sees women and respects women and things like that. So a lot of the time you'll hear, well, I didn't say it, so it's not my problem, or, you know, I'm not guilty of it. But by saying nothing, it's almost worse because you are basically supporting it in silence. So what have you found throughout your own footy career in terms of, these little drive-by comments, and what can more men do to stand up and to knock that on the head?
Yeah, I think it comes back to that Kate Mack story and just the herd mentality. Some of her mates could have come out and said something. They didn't. But staying silent just helps perpetuate it and makes it harder in future for others to stand up and say something. So, locker room chat, there's still a fair bit of that sort of chat in boys footy. I think a lot of guys talk like they're on their job site, like they're on a builder's site and things like that, which is very obviously male dominated and things like that. But footy clubs are not like that anymore. Footy clubs, there's juniors, there's women's teams. It's really much more diverse these days. So they get in trouble thinking that they're at their work site when it's like, well, hang on, no. And also suburb, you think about people moving around Melbourne, a lot of areas have been gentrified. There's different, people living in that community and joining those footy clubs. So you have to really be onto it. And I think that's where a lot of issues are coming out of it at the moment. But in terms of staying silent, it's that herd mentality. And, there's been plenty of times I've stayed silent. There's plenty of times I've spoken up. It just gets easier and easier when you do it. The problem is sometimes people, and this is what happened when I've called stuff out at footy clubs before that I've been a part of, and even after I've called out, I said, don't let me be the guy that you all pretend, that you all have to say something different around. Don't, because this is the code of conduct that we have all put our hand up to adhere to, govern, and to keep the integrity of our club and our game. And sadly, people choose the herd and they decide, it's more comfortable for me to be part of these guys that might laugh and joke about this or pretend to say something different when others are around. And that's part of the challenge. And it's hard to really find a solution about that. I've been through my own experiences with that, but everyone's out. Footy clubs as well. Other things I've learned from the Bulls, you've got 3 girls teams, you've got 2 senior boys teams, you got 1 oval, and everyone wants to train on a Thursday night. That's a part of this sort of new world of football. It's a place where issues can happen. Your balls, you're not sharing enough of the oval. We want to be on at 8, we want to be on at 9. And it's a real challenge for leadership at footy clubs to manage that at the moment, let alone what words people are saying around the club as well. There's so many really big challenges, but it's all about accountability from those at the top and those that are running those clubs and the code of conduct. And it's also about the people that are in charge of the entire integrity of our game as well. Like we can put a nice sticker of a local football match, in front of our AFL house. But when there's some really, really bad stuff happening at local footy level, we're not actually going out there doing anything about it or giving the resources or, going out there and trying to fix and make it better. Like the fish rots from the head, doesn't it? So, yeah. I don't know if I answered about 8 questions there or 1. Sorry.
No, you did. But it just goes to show that like you've got to actually speak up, and it is uncomfortable, but it's a bit like a muscle, right? The more you do it, the easier it will be. And if you speak up, and sometimes you might cop a bit of flack, but there might be a few others in the room who just didn't have that courage that will then be like, right, I've seen you as an example. I too can like stand up and say that comment wasn't great. And it's not about vilifying that person who said it, because it's also an environment thing that they've probably heard it from their father, their uncle.
Yes.
It's just about calling it out and just explaining why it's not okay to say things like that.
Yeah, yeah. And I reckon one thing, when you do call that stuff out, it's hard, but you also, other people hear and see, and you connect to people that have the same values as you do, and you end up, maybe you've rubbed one friend the wrong way, but we probably find another friend that agrees with you and that, that appreciates what you've done as well. So, although it's hard, good things can come out. Obviously, the good thing is helping educate other people, but you can connect with others. And I've done that as well in part of some of my challenges I've had with clubs is you find out who your friends are and who your friends aren't, but you also find out others that really are. So, there's plenty of reasons to do it.
And other little ways that, can really support the female sides if you're in a club that has both men and women's teams is share on social media when the women are playing or, reshare their posts or like their posts, engage.
Yeah.
It's really not that hard. There's small efforts.
Small efforts.
Go a long way.
Yeah, I think a lot of content creators find it really strange that strangers like, for example, we never met before at one point, and you would like all my posts, but like some of my best friends don't like, or it's a really strange concept that we have. I don't know whether it's tall poppy or what, but it's something across all creators is that they're baffled that people they never met before in their life will support them and like and comment and help spread the word on certain things, but some of your best friends will pretend like you don't actually do it and never even ask about it. So it's a strange world. I think maybe it comes from Aussie's sort of tall poppy syndrome, I think. Yeah. Yeah. It's and the herd mentality. It's I had a really big chat one day with my ChatGPT, who
Dr. ChatGPT
can be a good therapist. Yeah. Because they have all the history and they have all the, the information on like stoicism and herd mentality. And I learnt a lot by having a little chat to my ChatGPT. It was only once. I started paying the $250 for a proper therapist as well.
They're putting a lot of therapists out of business.
Yeah, but chewing the fat on a certain topic, it was actually beneficial. I'm not recommending everyone go out there and do that.
Please see solicit advice
yes,
instead,
please.
But always a good place to start, isn't it?
Yeah. I've learned a lot through through experience. So some things are tough to do, but I've definitely learned that values are the most important thing, and that you can not live by your values, but you've got to pick yourself up and continue to do better in areas.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Now, on a lighter topic, we've had a big win for women's sport recently with the AFL international rules being announced, which will be played at North Sydney Oval on the 1st of August at 4:30 p.m, I believe is kickoff time. So tell us a little bit about that in terms of what are you looking forward to from this game, and what do you think might be the roll-on effect from this?
Oh, I remember the old international rules. They were just really tough. Like Irish are just hard at it, aren't they?
Yeah, quick.
Like they're quick and they're tough, and they've got little tricks up their sleeve that no one knows, that we don't have.
No.
That's probably what I love about those sorts of matches the most. Like they'll bounce the footy in some way, and you're like, how the hell do you learn how to do that?
Yeah.
Like it's not hardly even your sport.
Yeah.
Who was the girl that did the back leg bounce last year?
Ash Centra.
Yeah,
like from Collingwood.
Like they've got like the whole team is like Ash Centras. They know how to do that. So that's what I really like. And then The whole part of playing for your country. I'm not sure. Has it ever happened in the W, like a match like this
No,
before?
it hasn't. Now, it did unofficially happen for the Masters last year.
Okay.
They had an Australian side go and play the Irish side, but it hasn't happened in the AFLW space before. So very exciting.
Yeah, well, I'm old enough to have seen a lot of to been like a teenager for the OG matches.
Yeah.
So when you see like the Scott brothers come out and play, and I think you learn. What I'm excited about is that you learn different things about the players that you see, that are your heroes.
Yeah.
So I think I'm excited about seeing like what different. It's a different game when they play. So seeing like Monica Conti come out, and she's going to bring out a different element because the Irish are going to bring something different, and just seeing how they adjust to the game. And I think there's a few questions that we don't know until they all go out on the ground. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I'm excited because, obviously being an Australian sport, there wasn't the ability to represent your country before, but now it's saying a lot about AFL and how much it's growing.
Yeah.
And I used to play AFL when I was over in Scotland, and we'd go to all these, different European competitions. It's huge over there, and it's only growing.
Yeah.
And it makes you think like, God, AFL, if they pump more money and resources into AFL Global, like it's a really exciting sport, and more people are being drawn to it. So something like this, where they've got clean air. It's going to be great for obviously being shown over in Ireland. We've got half of our population is basically Irish here now, isn't it? So I was going to say, you got a bit of an Irish tinge.
200 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. So, no, I think it's going to be a very spectacular event. I can't wait to see.
No, it'll be good. Yeah.
Now, we're going to give the audience a little bit of a feeler into what you and I are preparing for.
What
are we doing again?
I mean, I don't know what I'm turning up to a pub with you, and we're going to talk international rules.
We are
the big W game. Yeah.
That's right. So on the 25th of July at 7 p.m, the Toorak Hotel, Damo and myself will be hosting the international rules event. A bit of a teaser to promote what will be happening the following week.
Yep.
The idea is we're going to get a few Irish players and hopefully a few Aussie players as well.
Yep.
Going to have a bit of a panel, talk all about, get to know them, I'd say, get a bit of a story behind them.
Yep.
And then
try and understand what the Irish are talking about.
Yeah, exactly. There'll be a few language barriers there. But most importantly, there'll be a few games. I think it'll be a fun event to come to. What are we thinking for?
I've never tried to split the G before. I'd like to personally try that.
Yeah.
If that's all good with you, boss.
Oh, absolutely. I think we'll be splitting plenty of G's there.
Oh, really? Yeah, nice. Well, I definitely want to see, maybe we could do how many people have tried to split the G at once?
Yeah, well, that's right.
Should we look it up? I'm just going to say not as many as we're going to be doing.
No, exactly right. I would also like to see you do an Irish jig.
Okay. I'm not afraid to dance on camera, but I need a couple of Guinnesses or Guinea, is it?
Guinea.
I need some Guinea in me.
All right, we can arrange that, absolutely. I think we might have to do Irish jig versus Nutbush.
Oh, yeah. Yep, we can do that.
Go ahead on there. So what we're going to need, though, I think I'd love to know from the listeners who they want on the panel.
Yeah, that's a good question.
So
There's some talent out there.
There is some talent out there. And just looking at, the lists that have been officially announced, I'm really keen to see, who the listeners want.
Yeah. I mean, who do you want to see do an Irish jig and split the G potentially?
Yeah. Probably not the players because they'll have to be in good form.
Yeah,
but
they're not going to do it.
You reckon you'll take one for the team?
I'll do one for them.
Yeah.
I know Maddie Scholes. Is it Scholes or Scholes? I always get it wrong.
Matilda Scholes.
Matilda, sorry.
Yeah.
I know she can do a jig and a dance.
Yeah.
That's how I got
Seen her on
onto
TikTok.
her.
Yeah.
Big dancer.
Yeah.
So if we can get her there, that would be a winner.
All right.
We'll
see. We'll put the feelers out. We'll make sure everyone to get on down because it's going to be a great event.
It will.
We're going to learn a lot about the players who will be playing and also just get a bit of promotion about before the game, which will be the following week. We want to get as many eyes on that game as possible. And I'd love to see it as an annual event.
Yeah, cool.
And let's get, the Aussie team over to Ireland, Croke Park.
Oh, yes.
How cool would that be?
Well, so we got to host it then.
We'll have to host it. We'll have to find a pub in Dublin.
This is good.
We're
onto something here.
Absolutely.
This sounds good.
Yeah, we're setting a scenes here.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, Damo, thank you very much for coming on.
No worries. Thanks for letting me sit here and talk about myself for an hour.
Oh, you're not the normal guest that we get on, so it's probably been refreshing to a lot of the listeners.
Oh, really?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But you've touched on some great things, and I think key takeaway here is the importance of male allyship within the women's sports space. And to call out stuff. It's going to be uncomfortable. You may get a little bit of flack from some, but ultimately you got to live by your values. And I think if you go out and live by your values, you're always going to be proud of yourself.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's cool. And you'll feel nice and warm in your tummy when you do it. Trust me.
100%.
Yep.
Speaking of being nice and warm in the tummy, good old Toorak Hotel, who are looking after us here, have given you a $100 gift voucher to go you.
Oh,
yeah,
awesome.
you. So make sure you get on
I
down.
thought you were talking to the listeners.
No,
I was like, where's
this
mine?
is for you, Damo.
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
So make sure you go on down, and it's a great spot for everyone to go and watch the footy and have some drinks and have a bit of food. So yeah.
I'll have to give them a review.
You'll have to give him a good review. That's right. Well ahead. All right, Damo. Thank you very much. And I can't wait to co-host with you
It's going to be good.
at the event.
Get down, Toorak Hotel.
You
Let's
beauty.
do it.
Be there or be square.